Captain Jum Kim stood tall on the bridge of the Earth ship Horizon. Through the large window, he could see the massive space station of the Galactic Council. It looked like a giant silver wheel spinning slowly against the backdrop of stars. "Captain, we are cleared to dock," said his pilot, Officer Sung. June nodded. "Take us in slowly. Remember, we are the first humans most of these aliens will ever see." The Horizon was not a warship. It was built for this moment. Humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council. After humans discovered faster-than-light travel 5 years ago, they had met several alien species. But this meeting would decide if Earth could join the Council of Advanced Civilizations. June felt the weight of 6 billion humans on his shoulders. At 42, he had been chosen to lead this mission because of his calm nature and diplomatic skills. He straightened his blue uniform and touched the small Earth flag pin on his chest. "Dr. Park, are you ready with the cultural files?" June asked. Dr. Hannah Park looked up from her screen. She was the mission's expert on human history and culture. "Yes, Captain. I've prepared everything they asked for: art, music, literature, and—" She paused. "Our complete historical records." "Including the wars?" asked June. "Everything," Hannah said. They were very clear. "They want to know who we really are." The ship docked with a soft thud. June gathered his team. Dr. Park, 2 scientists, and 3 security officers who were under strict orders to appear friendly. As the airlock opened, June saw them. Representatives from at least 12 different alien species. Some had scales, others fur. Some were tall and thin, others short and wide. But all stood on 2 legs and had eyes that looked at the humans with clear intelligence. One stepped forward. It had pale blue skin and large, almond-shaped eyes. "I am Ambassador Tall of the Vexari," it said in perfect English. "Welcome to the Galactic Council Station Unity." June bowed slightly. "Captain Jum Kim of Earth, we are honored to be here." Ambassador Tall led them through wide hallways. Other aliens stopped to stare at the humans. June heard whispers and saw pointing. "You must forgive the attention," said Tall. "New species don't join the council often. The last was over 200 years ago." They entered a large room with a round table. Representatives from different species sat around it. June and his team took their assigned seats. A tall alien with 4 arms stood. "I am High Counselor Zex of the Midorians. We welcome humans to this historic meeting." The formalities began. June presented Earth's petition to join the council. Dr. Park transmitted their cultural and historical files. As the aliens reviewed the files, June noticed their expressions changing. Some made sounds that their translators didn't catch. Others exchanged glances. Ambassador Tall looked up from his screen. "Captain Kim, your species has an interesting history." "How so?" asked June. "So much conflict," said Tall. His mouth formed what might have been a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Your world wars are particularly fascinating. You named them so directly." Another alien, small with green skin, let out a sound like laughter. They numbered their planet-wide conflicts. 1, 2, as if expecting more. June felt his face grow warm, but kept his expression neutral. "Our history includes many struggles, yes, but also great achievements." "Of course," said Tall, but his tone was like one used to speak to a child. "We look forward to learning more about humans. Tomorrow, we've arranged a formal banquet to welcome you properly." As the meeting ended, June caught Dr. Park's eye. She looked worried. "What do you think?" he asked her quietly as they walked back to their ship. "I think," said Hannah slowly, "that they see us as children playing with weapons. Dangerous children." June looked back at the council chamber. "Then we have a lot to prove." What neither of them knew was just how much the aliens had misjudged humankind, and how soon they would learn their mistake. The banquet hall gleamed with soft blue light. Long tables curved in a half circle, filled with foods from 100 worlds. Captain Jun Kim and his team entered wearing their best uniforms. Dr. Hannah Park walked beside him, her face calm but her eyes alert. "Remember," June whispered to his team, "whatever happens, stay polite." Ambassador Tall greeted them with a wide gesture of his four-fingered hands. "Welcome, humans. Please, join us in celebration." The humans were seated at the center table. Aliens of all shapes and sizes watched them with open curiosity. Some used translation devices to speak with the Earth team. A tall, thin alien with purple skin approached Hannah. "I am Counselor Rill. Your music files are most interesting. So much of it is about love and pain." "Those are important parts of human experience," Hannah replied with a smile. Rill tilted his head, curious. "Our music celebrates knowledge and harmony." Across the table, a furry alien asked June about Earth foods. The conversation seemed friendly enough, but June felt something was off. The aliens were treating them like exotic pets, not equals. Then Ambassador Tall stood and tapped a crystal glass. The room fell silent. "Friends, tonight we have special entertainment. Our chief anthropologist, Mektar, has prepared a presentation on our new friends." A short alien with wide eyes and gray skin stepped to the center of the room. A large screen appeared in the air above. "Honored guests," Mektar began, "I have studied the human historical records with great interest." Images appeared on the screen: ancient battles with swords, then wars with guns, then modern conflicts. "The human species spent most of its development killing each other," Mektar said. Several aliens made sounds like laughter. "While we were building the first interstellar ships, they were inventing new ways to destroy their own cities." June's jaw tightened. Under the table, Hannah touched his arm in warning. Mektar continued, showing images of tanks and planes. "They named their killing machines after predatory animals: panthers, tigers, falcons, as if proud of their violent nature." The alien audience made sounds of amusement and disbelief. "Most fascinating is how they glorify these conflicts," Mektar said. "They build monuments to wars and create entertainment about fighting." An image of a war memorial appeared, then scenes from historical movies. "Imagine," Mektar said, "a species so backward that they make their young play games about their most tragic mistakes." The room filled with alien laughter. June felt his face grow hot with anger, but kept his expression neutral. Beside him, Hannah was quietly recording everything on her small device. "Their weapons evolved faster than their wisdom," Mektar concluded. "A dangerous combination, indeed." More laughter. Tall stood again, his expression what passed for smug among the Vexari. "We thank Mektar for this educational presentation. Our human friends must understand that the Council has evolved beyond physical conflict. No member species has engaged in warfare for at least 2,000 years. It is simply primitive." June rose slowly to his feet. The room fell silent. "Ambassador Tall, Council members, thank you for this evening." His voice was calm but firm. "May I address the gathering?" Tall seemed surprised but nodded. "Of course, Captain. You have seen our wars, yes, but you have missed what they taught us." June looked around the room. "Each conflict showed us what we could lose. Each peace showed us what we could build. We humans do not celebrate war. We remember its costs, so we work harder for peace." The aliens stared at him. Some looked confused, others doubtful. "You judge us for our history of conflict," June continued. "But history is more than a list of events. It is a teacher." A moment of awkward silence followed. Then Tall clapped his hands together. "Well said, Captain. Now, let us enjoy the rest of our meal." As they sat down, Hannah leaned close to June. "They don't believe you," she whispered. "They think we're dangerous children playing with weapons we don't understand." June nodded slightly. "For now. But tomorrow we face the full Council vote on our membership status. We'll see what they really think of Earth then." He looked around the room, at the aliens who thought humans were primitive warriors. If only they knew the full truth of human history, not just the battles fought, but the reasons why. That knowledge was coming, sooner than anyone expected. The council chamber was a large round room with high ceilings. Rows of seats rose up like steps, filled with representatives from dozens of alien worlds. In the center stood a single platform where speakers could address the council. Captain Jun Kim stood tall on this platform, facing the most powerful gathering in the known galaxy. Dr. Hannah Park sat nearby with the rest of the Earth team. Today, the Council would vote on Earth's petition to join them. High Counselor Zex called the meeting to order. We now address the petition from Earth to join the Galactic Council. Ambassador Tall rose from his seat. The membership committee has reviewed Earth's application. We find humans to be an intelligent species with promising technology. However, he paused, looking directly at Jun. We have serious concerns about their cultural compatibility. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Earth has a history filled with violence and warfare, Tall continued. While they have achieved periods of peace, their tendency toward aggressive solutions remains deeply embedded in their culture. More murmurs, louder now. The committee recommends probationary status only. Earth may observe council proceedings but cannot vote for a period of 50 years, during which humans must demonstrate their commitment to peaceful coexistence. 50 years. Jun kept his face calm even as anger rose inside him. Earth needed full membership to access advanced technologies and trade routes. Probationary status would cripple human development for 2 generations. Captain Kim, you may respond, said Zex. Jun took a deep breath. Thank you, High Counselor. Council members, I understand your concerns. Yes, human history includes war, but your understanding of these conflicts is incomplete. He looked around the chamber. You've reviewed our historical records, but these are just cold facts. Dates, numbers, weapons. You mock what you don't truly understand. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. Others looked offended. Ambassador Tall claims the council has evolved beyond physical conflict, that all disputes are resolved through pure logic and negotiation. Jun paused. But is that because you chose peace, or because you never faced true threats? The chamber erupted in sounds of protest. Zex called for order. Captain Kim, you go too far, warned Tall. I offer a challenge, Jun continued once the noise died down. You've seen our history books. Now read our war logs. War logs? Asked a counselor from the back. Personal accounts from soldiers and commanders, strategy documents, combat reports, the full, unfiltered experience of human conflict. Jun stood straighter, not just what happened, but why and how. He looked directly at Tall. Before you judge Earth as violent and primitive, understand what our wars truly taught us. Read the logs of those who fought, who suffered, who found victory and defeat. Silence filled the chamber. Then Zex spoke. Are you willing to provide these war logs? Yes, complete and unredacted. Every major conflict in human history. More silence. Then Tall stood. This is unusual, but perhaps it would help us better understand humans. He didn't sound convinced. I propose we assemble a small research team to review these documents before making our final decision. I second this proposal, said another counselor, a tall being with shimmering skin. Zex nodded. Very well. The vote on Earth's status will be delayed for 3 days while a research team reviews these additional materials. As the meeting ended, Hannah hurried to Jun's side. That was risky, she whispered. The war logs contain our darkest moments. And our brightest, Jun replied. Times when we rose above our nature, when we found mercy in the midst of conflict, when we rebuilt what was broken. Will they see it that way? Hannah asked. Jun watched as the aliens filed out of the chamber. They must, or Earth will never be seen as an equal. Later that day, Jun transferred the complete war logs to the Council's research team. Millions of documents spanning thousands of years of human conflict. Be careful what you wish for. Tall said as he accepted the transfer. June smiled slightly. Sometimes the truth is not comfortable, Ambassador, but it's always valuable. Neither man knew just how prophetic those words would soon become. This cannot be right, said Ziv, the council's chief historian. The small alien with golden skin stared at the screen before him. For 2 days, he and his team had been reading the human war logs. What started as a simple research task had become something else entirely. What troubles you? Asked Dr. Hannah Park. The council had requested she assist them in understanding human context. These accounts from your World War II. Ziv's large eyes blinked rapidly. Soldiers giving their food to enemy children. Medics treating wounded enemies. Christmas truces where fighting stopped and enemies sang together. Hannah nodded. War brings out the worst in humans, but also the best. Across the room, another researcher called out. The strategy documents are even more surprising. So much focus on minimizing civilian casualties, even at the cost of military advantage. Ziv moved to another screen. And this concept of just war, the idea that even in conflict, there must be moral limits. Humans have been thinking about the ethics of war for thousands of years, Hannah explained. From ancient philosophers to modern military academies. The research room was filled with aliens from different council species. For days, they had been reading personal accounts from soldiers, strategic documents, peace treaties, and military codes of conduct. The more they read, the more silent they became. Ziv pulled up a soldier's diary from the Vietnam War. This human writes about the pain of taking a life, about nightmares that haunted him for years. If humans enjoy war as we thought, why does it hurt them so deeply? Before Hannah could answer, the door opened. Ambassador Tall entered with Captain Jun Kim. How goes the research? Asked Tall, looking around at the quiet room. Ziv stood straight. Ambassador, these documents are not what we expected. How so? Tall's tone was dismissive. The complexity is overwhelming, said Ziv. Human wars are not simple acts of aggression. They contain countless individual choices, moral dilemmas, acts of cruelty, but also incredible mercy. June stepped forward. That is what I wanted you to see. War is humanity's greatest failure, but how we respond to it shows our greatest strength. There's more, added another researcher, a blue-skinned female. Their ability to adapt in conflict is remarkable. Strategies evolve mid-battle. Soldiers make complex decisions without direct orders. And the psychological elements, said a third. Humans understand fear as a weapon. They use it, but they also overcome it in ways I never imagined possible. Tall looked uncomfortable. These are interesting observations, but... Ambassador, interrupted Ziv, we have misjudged humans. Our initial evaluation was based on incomplete understanding. Hannah noticed something change in Ziv as he spoke. The historian seemed deeply affected by what he had read. This document here, Ziv continued, pointing to his screen. A medical officer who stayed behind with wounded who couldn't be moved, knowing he would be captured. Or this one, about soldiers who refused orders to fire on civilians, risking punishment. What is your point? Asked Tall, his patience clearly wearing thin. My point, Ambassador, is that we viewed human warfare as evidence of a primitive nature, but these logs show something else entirely. They show a species wrestling with its own nature, learning from each conflict, finding ways to be better. Tall seemed about to reply when an alarm sounded throughout the station. A voice came over the speakers. All council members to the emergency chamber immediately. This is not a drill. Tall's face changed. What now? He muttered. As they hurried from the research room, Jun caught up with Hannah. What did you show them? He asked quietly. Everything, she replied. The good and the bad. The war crimes and the medals for valor. The failures and the triumphs. Neither of them knew that at that very moment, a new threat was approaching. One that would put all their discussions about war into sharp, immediate focus. The emergency chamber was in chaos. Council members spoke over each other as screens showed a large unknown ship at the edge of council space. Captain Jum Kim and his team stood to one side, watching the confusion. High Counselor Zex called for order. "Please, we must respond with clear minds." The room quieted. On the main screen, a message played. The alien speaking had rough, gray skin and 4 yellow eyes. "Council worlds, hear me. I am War Commander Drell of the Korthos Empire. Your territory now borders ours. We claim the Nexus star system as our right. Remove all ships and bases from this system within 3 days, or we will remove them for you." The message ended. Silence filled the chamber. "Who are these Korthos?" asked June. Tall looked shaken. "An unknown species from beyond the galactic arm. We receive reports of their expansion, but we never expected direct contact so soon." "The Nexus system contains 5 inhabited worlds," said one counselor. "We cannot abandon them." "But we have no military," said another. "How can we resist such threats?" More arguing broke out. June watched as the proud council that had mocked human warfare now faced a real threat without any idea how to respond. In the corner of the room, Zid was staring at his datapad. The historian had not spoken but seemed deep in thought. Finally, he approached High Counselor Zex and whispered something. Zex looked surprised, then nodded. "Captain Kim," called Zex. "The Council would value Earth's perspective on this situation." June stepped forward, aware that every alien eye was now on him. "What would you like to know? If Earth faced such a threat, how would you respond?" June considered his words carefully. "First, we would seek to understand our enemy better. What do they truly want? Is negotiation possible? What are their strengths and weaknesses?" Several council members nodded. "Second, we would prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Make defensive plans while still pursuing diplomatic solutions." "But we have no military forces," said Tall. "The Council has maintained peace through diplomacy for 2,000 years. "Peace through good fortune, perhaps," said Ziv suddenly. Everyone turned to look at the historian. "I have been studying human war logs day and night. What I've learned—" He paused. "What I've learned is that the Council has never faced a species that could not be reasoned with." Murmurs spread through the room. "The Korthos message shows no interest in negotiation," continued Ziv. "It is an ultimatum, pure and simple." As the council members looked at each other in growing concern, Jun felt someone touch his arm. It was Hana. "Captain, the war logs they've been studying most intensely are from World War II," she whispered. "Specifically, accounts of resistance against aggressors who would not negotiate." Jun understood immediately. They're seeing parallels. Back in the center of the room, Ziv was still speaking. "In human history, there were times when peaceful societies faced enemies who only understood strength. The humans learned, often at great cost, that some threats cannot be talked away." The room grew quiet as the council members took in his words. "What exactly are you suggesting?" asked Tall, his voice tight. "I suggest," said Ziv, "that we continue studying the human war logs, but with new purpose. Not to judge humanity's past, but to learn from it for our present situation." High Counselor Zex looked troubled. "You believe these human experiences could help us with the Korthos?" "I do," said Ziv firmly. All eyes turned to June again. He stood straight, feeling the weight of the moment. "Captain Kim," said Zex, "would Earth share not just its history, but its wisdom in dealing with such threats?" Before June could answer, a second alarm sounded. An aide rushed in and whispered to Zex. "The Korthos have fired on an outpost in the Nexus system," announced Zex, his voice shaking. "They are not waiting 3 days." The chamber erupted in panic. In the chaos, Ziv moved closer to June and Hannah. "Captain," he said quietly, "I need to speak with you privately. There is something about the Council you should know." Ziv led Captain Jum Kim and Dr. Hannah Park to a small, quiet room away from the chaos of the emergency chamber. The alien historian seemed nervous. His golden skin flushed a deeper shade. What I am about to tell you is not widely known, even among council members, Ziv said, closing the door. It may change how you view our civilization. June and Hannah exchanged glances. Go on, said June. Ziv took a deep breath. The council has never faced true warfare. Never. You mean in the last 2,000 years? Asked Hannah. I mean ever. Ziv's eyes locked with June's. The founding species of the Galactic Council evolved in a remarkably peaceful sector of space. The early council members were all peaceful by nature or by cultural development. But surely there were conflicts, said June. Minor ones. Trade disputes, border disagreements, but nothing like what humans call war. Ziv activated a screen on the wall. A map of the galaxy appeared, with council space highlighted. This region was unusually rich in resources. No species needed to fight over basic needs, and when the council formed, our technology advanced quickly enough that resource scarcity became even less of an issue. Hannah leaned forward. So when you said the council had evolved beyond conflict, it was partially true, admitted Ziv, but not because we overcame a violent nature. Rather, we never truly faced situations that would have tested us. June stood and paced the small room. And now the Korthos are the first real threat you've encountered. Exactly, said Ziv. The council has no military, no defense doctrine, no concept of how to respond to force with force. But your technology, began Hannah. Advanced, yes, but not designed for warfare. Ziv looked down. Our ships have defensive shields for space debris and solar radiation, not weapons fire. We have never developed weapons beyond what might be needed for personal protection. The room fell silent as June and Hannah absorbed this information. When I began reading your war logs, Ziv continued, I expected to find confirmation of human primitiveness. Instead, I found something the Council desperately needs right now: experience with conflict resolution when diplomacy fails. Does the Council understand the danger they're in? Asked June. Some do now. That's why High Counselor Zex asked for Earth's perspective. Ziv's voice dropped lower. The Korthos are unlike any species we've encountered. Their message was clear. They take what they want. They do not seek understanding or compromise. Hannah looked worried. And they've already attacked. Yes, an outpost with 500 civilians. No survivors. Ziv's voice shook slightly. The Council is not prepared for this, physically or mentally. June stopped pacing. Why are you telling us this? Because I believe Earth can help. Not just with advice, but with action. Ziv stepped closer. The Council mocked your history of warfare. Now that very history might save us. A soft beep came from Ziv's communication device. He checked it and looked up with alarm. We must return to the emergency chamber. The Korthos have sent another message. As they hurried through the corridors, Jun spoke quietly to Hannah. If what Ziv says is true, the Council is in even greater danger than they realize. And our ship is the only one with any military capability, even if it's just basic defenses, Hannah replied. They reached the emergency chamber as a new message began playing. The Korthos commander, Drell, filled the screen. Council Worlds, your outpost has been removed. This demonstrates our resolve. Meet our demands or face elimination. You have 48 hours. The message ended. The chamber, previously filled with chaotic voices, was now silent with fear. High Counselor Zex saw June enter and gestured him forward. Captain Kim, said Zex, his voice steadier than before. I believe it is time we learned much more about how humans handle those who threaten them. The council chamber was packed. Representatives from every member world sat in tense silence. On the main screen, data showed the Korthos ships moving deeper into the Nexus system. High Counselor Zex stood at the center. We must decide on our response to the Korthos ultimatum. We have less than 48 hours. A tall, thin counselor stood. We should give them the Nexus system. 5 worlds are not worth a wider conflict. Unacceptable, said another. If we surrender these worlds, they will demand more. Perhaps we can negotiate shared access to the system's resources, suggested a third. The debate continued in circles. Captain Jung Kim watched from his seat, growing more concerned by the minute. These beings had no concept of dealing with an enemy who would not compromise. Finally, Ambassador Tall addressed the chamber. We have analyzed all communication from the Korthos. They show no interest in negotiation. Their culture appears to respect only strength. They see our diplomatic approaches as weakness. Murmurs spread through the room. Then we are lost, said one counselor. We cannot show strength we do not have. Jun stood up. High Counselor, may I address the council? Zex nodded. Please, Captain Kim. Jun walked to the center of the chamber. He could feel all eyes on him. Council members, Earth has faced enemies like the Korthos before. Not alien enemies, but human ones who respected only power and conquest. The room grew quieter. In our history, we learned that there are times when standing firm is the only path to peace. Not because we love conflict, but because we understand that some aggressors will take everything if you give them anything. Jun gestured to the screen showing the Korthos ships. These Korthos test you. They want to see if you will resist. If you surrender the Nexus system, they will soon demand another and another. But what can we do? Asked the counselor. We have no military, no weapons. Not yet, said Jun. But Earth does. The chamber erupted in surprised voices. Zex called for order. What are you proposing, Captain? Asked Tall, his voice cautious. Earth will help defend the council. We can send ships, advisors, and defensive systems. We can teach you strategies developed over thousands of years of human conflict. And in return, asked Zex. Full membership in the council, Jun said firmly. Not probationary status, equal partnership. More murmurs filled the room. Tall looked troubled. You ask us to embrace the very thing we rejected about humans, your capacity for warfare. I ask you to embrace reality, replied Jun. Peace is always the goal, but sometimes peace must be defended. Zex raised a hand for silence. This is an unprecedented proposal. Ziv stepped forward. High Counselor, if I may speak. The historian may speak, said Zex. I have spent days reading human war logs. What I found was not a love of violence, but a deep understanding of conflict in all its forms. Ziv looked around the chamber. The humans know things we do not. How to stand against threats, how to fight when necessary, and most importantly, how to find peace even after conflict. You support this proposal? Asked Tall, clearly surprised. I do, said Ziv. The Korthos have already shown they will kill. 500 dead at the outpost is just the beginning, if we do nothing. Silence fell over the chamber as each representative considered the choice before them. Accept human help and their methods of conflict, or face the Korthos alone. High Counselor Zex spoke at last. We will put it to a vote. Should we accept Earth's offer of defense against the Korthos threat? One by one, the representatives voted. Some quickly, others with clear reluctance. When all votes were counted, Zex announced the result. By a majority of 70%, the Council accepts Earth's offer of assistance. Jun nodded solemnly. Then we have no time to lose. I need to contact Earth immediately, and I'll need your best minds to help implement our strategy. As the Council session ended, Hannah approached Jun. Can Earth really defend against these Korthos? We're about to find out, said Jun. But first, we need to call in some experts. Just 24 hours after the Council's vote, 3 Earth ships arrived at the space station. They were not large like the Horizon Asterisk, but smaller, faster vessels built for defense and quick strikes. With them came the experts Captain Jun Kim had requested. Welcome to Unity Station, said Jun as the new arrivals stepped through the airlock. Colonel Ta Sun was first, a tall woman with sharp eyes and a serious face. She was Earth's top military strategist, with experience in 5 major conflicts. "Captain Kim," she said with a quick nod. "The situation. Critical. The Korthos have given us 24 more hours before they advance further." Next came Min Lee, a quiet man with gentle hands, but a mind that understood how enemies think. He was Earth's best diplomatic negotiator for hostile situations. Last was Jai-Ho Kang, an expert in psychological warfare. He could predict how enemies would react to different pressures and fears. "Let's get to work," said Ta. "I've reviewed the data you sent. The Korthos have superior numbers but predictable tactics." In the main strategy room, the human team met with council representatives. Tal and Ziv were there, along with military advisors from various worlds. The advisors looked uncertain. They had never planned for actual combat. Ta pointed to the star map. "The Korthos expect you to either surrender or try a direct defense. They don't expect clever tactics because they think you have none." "And we don't," admitted Tal. "But we do," said Todd with a small smile. "And we've been refining them for thousands of years." Over the next hours, the humans shared military wisdom from Earth's history. The council members listened in growing wonder. "This formation," explained Ta, showing a diagram, "comes from ancient Rome. Their armies used it to hold positions against much larger forces. And this approach," added Jai-Ho, "we learned during the Cold War. When you can't match an enemy's strength, you make them uncertain about where you might strike." Min focused on communication tactics. "Your messages to the Korthos have been too open, too honest. With enemies like these, your words must be carefully chosen to create doubt." Ziv moved between the planning tables, his eyes bright with interest. "These strategies, they're from different time periods, different wars." "Yes," said Jun. "Humans learned something new from each conflict. We're using wisdom from 1,000 battlefields." The plan came together piece by piece. Council ships would be positioned using Roman battle formations. Communication would use psychological tactics from Earth's 20th century. And a small fleet would employ guerrilla tactics from jungle wars. "Will this really work?" asked Tal, still doubtful. "The Korthos expect you to think like the Council has always thought," said Ta. "They don't expect you to think like humans." As the deadline approached, everything was ready. Council ships moved into position. Earth vessels took the lead points in the formation. The Korthos commander's face appeared on the main screen. "Your time is up. What is your answer?" Tal spoke, using the words Min had prepared. "The Nexus system remains under Council protection. We suggest you reconsider your position." The Korthos commander laughed. "Then you will be destroyed." The screen went dark. "They're moving their ships forward," reported a council technician. "Battle formation." "Just as we expected," said Tai calmly. "Now, execute Plan Alpha." The council ships began to move, not in retreat as the Korthos expected, but in the complex pattern Tai had designed. Earth vessels darted between larger council ships, creating confusion on enemy sensors. "They're hesitating," said Jai-Ho, watching the Korthos ships slow their advance. "They don't understand what they're seeing." The first shots came from the Korthos flagship, aimed at where they thought the Council command ship would be. But following Ta's strategy, it was elsewhere. "Return fire," ordered Ta. Pattern Beta. The battle had begun. On the main screen, Jun watched as human strategies from 1,000 years of warfare were put to the test against an alien threat. "Now we see," he said quietly, "if what we learned through blood and fire can save lives today." 3 days after the battle began, the Korthos ships turned and left Council space. Their retreat was not a panic, but a controlled withdrawal. They had tested the Council's strength and found it greater than expected. In the main Council chamber, Captain Jun Kim stood with his team. The room was packed with representatives from every world. Many had come just to see the humans who had changed everything. High Counselor Zex raised his hands for quiet. "Today we gather to recognize what has happened. For the first time in Council history, we faced an enemy who would not listen to reason. And for the first time, We defended ourselves successfully. Murmurs of agreement filled the room. The Korthos lost 7 ships. We lost 3. Every council member mourns those lives. Zex paused. But without the help from Earth, we would have lost much more. Ambassador Tall stepped forward. His usual proud stance was gone. He looked humbled. Captain Kim, Dr. Park, Colonel Tai, and all humans who helped us. The Council owes you a debt. Tall's voice was clear and strong. But more than that, we owe you an apology. The chamber grew very quiet. We mocked what we didn't understand, continued Tall. We saw your history of conflict as proof of primitive nature. We were wrong. June stood tall, his face calm. Beside him, Hana smiled slightly. Your war logs showed us something we had never seen, said Tall. They showed us how conflict, terrible as it is, can forge wisdom, how facing threats can teach lessons that peace alone cannot teach. Ziv the historian stepped forward. The human strategies confused the Korthos completely. They expected either surrender or simple, direct resistance. They did not expect the complex tactics that humans have developed over thousands of years. The psychological warfare was most effective, added Jai Ho Kang. When we sent false information that made the Korthos believe we knew their plans, they hesitated at a critical moment. Colonel Ta nodded, and the defensive formations, borrowed from Earth's ancient armies, protected key systems while appearing vulnerable. High Counselor Zex raised his hands again. In light of these events, the Council has voted again on Earth's membership status. Jun straightened his shoulders, ready for whatever came next. Earth is granted full Council membership, effective immediately, announced Zex. Furthermore, we request that Earth establish a permanent advisory group to help the Council develop proper defense protocols. Applause filled the chamber. June stepped forward to accept the official membership seal. Earth is honored to join the Galactic Council as equals, he said. We will share all we know, not just about warfare, but about making peace after conflict. Both are essential lessons from our history. Later, as the humans prepared to return to the Horizon Ziv approached June and Hana. I have a question that has troubled me since reading your war logs, said the historian. How did humans endure so much conflict without losing hope? Hana smiled. Because we learned that darkness doesn't last forever. Every war in our history eventually ended. And each time, added June, we rebuilt something better than what was lost. Ziv nodded slowly. There is wisdom in that. The Council has lived so long in peace that we forgot its true value. One cannot truly appreciate light without knowing darkness. Ambassador Tall joined them, looking more relaxed than June had ever seen him. The Korthos will return someday. They are testing other borders now, looking for weakness. And when they return, said June, the Council will be ready. Thanks to you, said Tall. He hesitated, then extended his hand in the human gesture of respect he had once mocked. Your history of conflict wasn't a sign of primitive nature. It was the forge that prepared you, and now us, for survival. June shook the ambassador's hand firmly. As he looked around at the Council station, he thought about how strangely things had worked out. Humans had traveled to the stars hoping to find peace, only to discover that their greatest contribution would be teaching others how to face conflict. It was not what they had expected, but perhaps it was exactly what the galaxy needed. The end.